Welcome to the haunted world of Oddfellow's Casino. A story and a song to start the day, to end the night, or just to keep you warm. Hosted by me, David Oddfellow, singer-songwriter in Oddfellow's Casino. Extreme weather has always been something of a joke in England. A spot of warm weather and our train tracks melt, a few inches of snow bring the country to a halt, a couple of days' rain, and a village floats away. Back in 1976, however, we had a real drought. Forest fires broke out daily, temperatures hit 36 degrees, and water became scarce. Parks and gardens across the country became scorched and bleached. Along with the national heatwave came soaring numbers of aphids. Hot on the trail of the tasty aphids, a plague of ladybirds. Great clouds of them shimmered through the air, sticking to clothes and hair. After the aphids had gone, millions of starved bodies of ladybirds littered the streets and countryside. This was a biblical prophecy, English style. I was a tiny kid at the time, but I remember fending off the bugs. I remember the heat and the sweetness of water on the throat. And I remember at Ladybower Reservoir in the heart of Derbyshire, something extraordinary happened that summer. In 1939, after decades of plans, the Derbyshire authorities decided to go ahead with building a new reservoir in the Derwent Valley to serve Manchester and surrounding towns. Within 4 years, Derwent's church held its last ever service. The villagers were rehoused and the buildings demolished. Out of respect or superstition, however, Derwent's church was left standing. And when the water levels of Ladybower Reservoir fell sufficiently low, the church would re-emerge.
The rest of the week's news visited Derbyshire. 4 years ago, the village of Derwent was submerged by an extension of the Ladybower Reservoir. Only the top of the church spire remained visible as the village became a lake. Today, the water has cleared. Accessible again, Derwent Church saw its first visitors since the last ever service in 1943. The reason for this sudden emergence was a 50-foot drop in the upper reservoir. In a district where the annual rainfall is nearly 40 inches, a long drought caused this to happen. December may bring a rise in the water.
In the midst of the Great Drought of 1976, when ladybirds were taking over the world, my family drove out to Ladybower to walk around its dark waters. While the heat and silence were stifling, the haunting sight of the lone steeple of Derwent's church rising out of the water has never left me. But here's the strange thing. In researching drowned villages a few years ago, I discovered that in 1947, an earlier drought in Derbyshire had brought such an unwelcome volume of sightseers and divers that the church had been demolished to curb further intrusions. When I mentioned this to my family, there was silence. "I remember," my dad said, firmly, and we all do. In the blistering heat of the summer of 1976, were we party to a mirage, a mass hallucination? Like the phantom limb of an amputee, is Derwent's church still held in the memory of those cold waters?
Today, the water is clear, accessible again. Derwent Church saw its first visitors since the last ever service in 1943. Only the top of the church spire remained visible as the village became a lake.
In the film and TV series of the creepy French thriller The Returned, it is the dead who begin to return to a small mountain village. As the days pass, the water levels of the local reservoir mysteriously start dropping, and a church steeple is slowly revealed beneath the water. The village's former residents, drowned when a newly built dam broke, are coming back. Derwent's drowned church eventually became the central image for the artwork for The Water Between Us, the fourth album by Oddfellow's Casino. But the song that really connects with the theme of drowned villages is We Will Be Here from the Raven's Empire. Written as an anthem for the dead, it would have made the ideal theme tune for The Returned. Unfortunately for us, they used Mogwai instead. Here's Oddfellow's Casino with We Will Be Here.
Fires, we will be here. In the rocks and stones, in the soil and the shadows, we will be here. In the cracks in the land, in the call of the wild, we will be here. In the crows and the rooks and the ravens' empire, we will be here. In the wind at night and the songs of the sirens, we will be here. In the dreams of the dead and the graveyard silence, in some quiet hour between two worlds, where the waters meet and night swallows up the day, when the stars dissolve before your eyes, when you lay to sleep, that's when we come alive. We will be here in the woods at night, in the winter fires. We will be here in the rocks and stones, in the soil and the shadows. We will be here in the cracks in the land, in the call of the wild. We will be here in the crows and the rooks and the ravens' empire. We will be here in the wind at night and the songs of the sirens. We will be here in the dreams of the dead and the graveyard silence. We will be here in the woods at night, in the winter fires. We will be here in the rocks and stones and the soil and the shadows. We will be here in the cracks in the land, in the cold of the wild. We will be here in the crows and the rooks and the ravens' empire. We will be here in the wind at night and the songs of the sirens. We will be here in the dreams of the dead and the graveyard silence.
To find out more about the band or buy our music, go to oddfellowscasino.com or follow us on Twitter @oddcasino.